Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking about growing your business. And everybody just went, what the heck? There's a pandemic on. How can we grow our business? That's what we're going to talk about, because even during a pandemic, even during a shutdown, you can and should be growing your business. So please join me in welcoming Darrell Amy to our program today. Welcome, Darrell.
Deb, it's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm so excited to talk with you today and share ideas on how to grow in a pandemic, post-pandemic, wherever we find ourselves. So yeah, this is going to be a fantastic conversation.
I love it. Well, first of all, congratulations. You were sharing with me earlier that you became a grandfather again,
I did.
Very early this morning in the wee hours. But and so again, congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. My first Zoom meeting of the day today was at 5 a.m. and it was to witness my grandson coming into the world.
Love it.
That just about sums up our experience here as of late, right?
I know.
Everything's on Zoom.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wasn't that one of those things you
much.
wish you bought stock when it was really,
Ooh, man, it's incredible. But I think, there's been massive shifts. Obviously, the word of the year for 2020 is probably, I'm prophesying here because I know this comes out in January, but I think the word of the year, I'm putting my bets on pivot, because it has been a year of the pivot.
I think the expression will be, you're on mute.
Yes. Right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
But it's been a year of learning. It's been a year of change. It's been a year of pivot, but it's also been a year of opportunity.
Right.
And I think, a lot of it is the perspective with which we look at things. And I choose to look at things through the lens of growth. When there's change, there is opportunity for growth.
I love it. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll go into this in a deep dive, because it's going to be so much fun. So Darrell Amy is on a mission to help generous companies grow revenue faster. With 27 years of B2B marketing and sales experience, ranging from mid-sized local companies to enterprise organizations, Darrell has diverse experience across the sales and marketing landscape. He has trained thousands of salespeople in solution selling, created digital marketing strategies for hundreds of companies, and consulted with Fortune 500 tech companies. He knows what works and what doesn't. As a member of the Forbes Business Council and the C-Suite Advisors team, Darrell works with executives to create growth strategies. He co-founded Convergo, where he serves as the Chief Innovation Officer, helping companies develop revenue growth strategies. Darrell is the host of the Revenue Growth Podcast and co-hosting of the Selling from the Heart podcast. Darrell is a frequent podcast guest, keynote speaker, and contributing author. So again, Darrell, welcome.
Thank you, Dad. That was incredible.
I know, I always love it when and okay, so little secret to everybody listening. The guests provide their bios, but you still,
I have great marketing people. It was good. But at the bottom of all of that, behind all of that is really a heart to see great businesses grow, because with all of the challenges that the pandemic has brought to our business world, to our cultures, to our countries, our societies, all of that. The reality is, I firmly believe that the people that are going to bring us out of this are forward-thinking, growth-minded business professionals who, as we say at the C-Suite Network, are committed to drive and thrive. And this is the time where, it is really important to get strategic. We cannot coast to growth in this marketplace. We've got to get intentional.
Right. Yeah. The saying, because we've always done it that way, can't work anymore. And for a variety of reasons. People aren't consuming the way they used to. Employees certainly aren't working the way they used to. We're not meeting people the way we used to. I mean, all of these various things. And so if you're still stuck in, but that's the way we've always done it, you ain't gonna grow.
I think it's a growth mindset, I believe I've coined this phrase just accidentally last week, but we've got to get it done in 2021. And the reason for that, how about that? Is
Yay.
just happened. But 2020, we're recording this at the tail end of the year. It's been a challenging year for a lot of organizations. And so 2021 is a make or break year for many companies, many sales professionals, many people. And this is a year where we do have to get it done. There are shifts, but the mindset of growth says when things change equals opportunity. Right. And the way we always did it, are we going to get back to normal? No. Normal is a continually evolving thing. And I wouldn't have thought it, asked me a year ago if I thought it would be normal to watch the birth of my grandson on a Zoom meeting, right? It kind of felt normal. Right. Yeah. and that's where, this mindset right now of one of the great things coming out of this year, I believe, Deb, is the mindset of the pivot, of being flexible and being eyes open. Once we got past the shock of the lockdowns and all of that, I know many business people, got innovative, got strategic. And that to me is a burst of energy in the business community that quite frankly, I think was desperately needed.
Right. Yeah, because we did have an awful lot of, that's the way we've always done it.
Yes. Because it worked. And, here's the deal. As we go into the new year, one of the questions I've been getting a lot is, how do we set goals in an environment of uncertainty?
Right.
In most businesses, I'm looking for my ruler. Here's how most businesses set growth goals. They use the ruler, right?
Right. Yeah,
They're like,
and you hope that you went up that trajectory.
Right. We did this. We did 10% a year ago. We did 12. We did, and you kind of put the ruler on your little bar chart and you set your goal.
No dips.
Yeah. Right. Well, here's the ruler in 2020.
Right. And then it goes boogity, 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 boogity.
Yeah. And they say in the investment world, the trend is your friend, but the trend is not your friend right now. If you're trying to build your growth goals. And the reality is not only maybe you took a hit in 2020, maybe you sold personal protective equipment and plexiglass, but that's
Zoom.
not sustainable. Or maybe you were Zoom. The question is, how do I set goals going into 2021? Right. And this is really critical because without a goal, it's hard to build execution. Right. And so what I've figured out this year, and this is the heart of the revenue growth engine, is that this is a very practical way to set goals, is to ask the question, how do we get revenue? What drives revenue? And I've come to the conclusion that if you boil it all down, there's really only two ways to grow revenue, right? We get net new clients or we sell more to our current clients. So here's what I challenge people to do when it comes to setting goals is, don't just set that big revenue goal, go down a level and go, okay, how many clients do we have right now? We're customers. I prefer to call them clients. Clients buy toothpaste at Walmart. Customers get advice from trusted advisors. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Customers buy toothpaste, clients get advice.
Right.
So how many clients do you have right now?
Those people who give us money.
Yes. How many of those people do you have right now? That's your baseline. So let's say you have 1,000 clients right now. Okay. With the right marketing and sales processes in place, what do we think we could grow that to in 2021? Right. Then the second driver is based on cross-selling. It's your revenue per client. Now, this is going to be some complicated math. You're going to have to take your total revenue and divide it by that number of clients. And now you have your line in the sand to say our revenue per client. Let's say your revenue per client's $10,000. Okay. What could we do? What processes could we put in place from a sales and marketing standpoint to grow our revenue per client in 2021? Then add those two numbers together and you'll be surprised, because what you'll have is you'll have a realistic goal, because it's based on those two realistic goals of how many clients could we add and how could we grow our revenue per client. But also we find, Deb, that people, when they add those two numbers up, the goal seems aggressive, because now we've got compound growth going. We're growing our client base, but we're also growing our revenue per client. And when you get both of those going at the same time, you begin to experience the type of exponential revenue growth that you need to get yourself out of the ditch of 2020.
Right.
And so it's that level of strategy to go, okay, what's driving revenue and how can we make marginal improvements in each one of those areas, that is going to set a company not only with good goals, but with a mindset for growth that's actually attainable going into this new year.
Right. Yeah, and you mentioned revenue growth engine. You've actually written a book about that. Come on, be Vanna. It's called Revenue Growth Engine.
Behind me, and here it is. Absolutely.
Yes, yep. So Revenue Growth Engine, how to align sales and marketing to accelerate growth. And great book. I read through it, took some notes. See, here's my notes. And several things struck me. And so we're probably going to talk about this for most of the program. The first was sales and marketing. So many times they are in two totally separate silos. Yes. They might report to totally different people. I've seen sales, depending on the companies, report to, say, R&D, and marketing report to HR or legal, or all these various things. And the two, they not only do they not meet, they go at crossheads, because they figure they're competing for dollars. And so talk to us about why those two absolutely have to be working together.
Well, it goes back to my story, and I started straight out of university. I got a technology sales job. So it was hardcore in the field, cold calling, it was highly competitive. And so I've got sales in my DNA. I like to joke, I'm a recovering sales rep. I'm down to therapy twice a month.
And I'm like, ew, sales, which is all of us, right? Most people think sales, and they do, they go, ew. We're all in sales, folks. I got news for you. We are all in sales, especially if you are an entrepreneur or a small business owner.
And you're really just helping people get what they need. We'll talk about that later on. But so I've got sales in my DNA, but also had marketing degree in my hip pocket. And when I started a sales training company 17 years ago, my very first client came to me and said, "Hey, Darrell, everything you taught our sales team is great. Our website doesn't say anything about it. Do you build websites?" And next thing you know, I'm in the marketing business. And so what I've wandered down this road of sales and been involved in doing sales training, sales development, built some sales training programs for some large enterprise companies. Love it. Absolutely love it. Get in, talk to people on the Selling from the Heart podcast. Then I've also been in this marketing lane as well. And marketing is fascinating because what was web then became search engines, then became social media, then became inbound marketing, account-based marketing, and all of the. And what I began to notice is while the buyer in the way that they were buying was that whole world of marketing and sales was coming together, research by Brent Adamson, Matt Dixon, and the Challenger Customer, mapped that journey and said the buyer doesn't really even see a difference between the two. They're both the company. At the same time, sales and marketing were growing further and further apart. Right. Marketing was getting more sophisticated in some ways, and sales was getting more feet. We had our ankles in the dirt, and
especially if say they're commission-based sales. I mean, that's just the nature of that beast.
Yeah, so I was getting ready to speak to a conference it was a growth conference, which I love the title. And because at the end of the day, it's not about sales, it's not about marketing, it's about growing revenue. That's the goal. And yet you talk to some salespeople and some marketing leaders, and you'd think that it's all about sales or marketing. That's not the goal is revenue. And so I stood up in front of this group, and the marketing people were so excited about the newest gadgets and shiny objects. And I'm a tech nerd. I love all that stuff, but it's not about that. And the salespeople, they're checking their phones, trying to reply to messages and close deals. And like, why are we here? And that's when I was like, hey, time out. It's not about marketing gadgets. It's not about sales strategy. It's about how do we drive revenue? And the way we drive revenue is by focusing on the type of ideal clients that we want. And things started coming into motion when I said, okay, what would it take with an understanding of the ideal clients that we want to attract and cross-sell? What would it take to drive net new business? And what would it take to cross-sell? What are the marketing processes and the sales processes that need to be in place for net new, and marketing and sales processes for cross-sell? And that's where the engine started coming together. And I realized there's like all these different pieces of the puzzle that need to be put together into a complete model that can help a company actually drive revenue.
Right. Talk to us about net new. That might be a term that people aren't familiar with.
That's a good old sales term. Net new business. So we go out in sales. We love dragging in new deals, right? Landing new logos,
right.
new
big
customers,
fish.
Ringing the bell, right? And net new business is fantastic. Deb, it's interesting when I ask people, I was on this morning helping a great company in the Midwest develop a revenue growth strategy. And I asked the question, I ask many companies, I say, between net new and cross-sell, are you better at bringing on new customers, or do you feel like your company is better at developing your relationships and cross-selling more inside your current client base? And I would say, this is not statistically significant, but I would say probably 3-to-1, 4-to-1 companies are saying we're better at net new and we're not great at cross-sell.
Right.
But net new is exactly what we think. Marketing generates leads, sales, lands the deals. And there's a set of processes involved in marketing and in selling for net new that need to be in place. You know, the engine, when you think about the analogy of an engine, there's a lot of different kinds of engines. And as I was getting ready to write this book, a lot of the ideas for this book actually came while I was mowing my lawn. Now, I like to, I know you mow your grass. Yes, I kind of like to, because I put my headphones in.
Right.
And I listen to podcasts like the Business Power Hour, right? So I'm bebopping along on my lawn, sun's out, and I'm, my lawnmower, I don't know, maybe goes 2 miles an hour. It doesn't have a speedometer on it because you don't need one because it goes so slow, but it has an engine. And I was puttering down my lawn, mowing the nice straight line. And I'm looking at my driveway and I see my car. Now, my car also has an engine.
Right.
It just so happens
a little more powerful.
It's got a few more horsepower, a few more cylinders. It's finely tuned, and it uses, premium grade fuel. And I like to accelerate. I like to drive. I like to get where I'm going quickly. And so I had this realization that both these vehicles, my lawnmower and my car, both have an engine. However, the engine, there's a big difference. And every business has a growth engine. Your revenue growth engine is a sum total of all your sales processes and marketing processes. You wouldn't be in business if you didn't have an engine.
Right.
The problem is many businesses have engines that are missing cylinders, or they're not firing on all cylinders. Yeah. And so that was the genesis behind this. Was I began asking the question, okay, what are all the cylinders that would need to be in place to drive net new and to drive cross-sell? And really almost this is a framework or a schematic for a business to go, okay, here's where we're missing it. And here's where we need to put the processes in place. So net new business, what are the marketing processes? What are the sales processes that need to be in place to drive net new business? And we outline those in the book. And the idea is for the readers of the book and the businesses that we get the opportunity to train and consult with, the idea is that the light bulb comes on and goes, oh, we're missing that cylinder. And if we put that cylinder in place and got it firing right, all of a sudden we could hit the gas and we could accelerate.
Right. Right. And some of those cylinders, and you go through this in your book, are kind of a variety of things. Customer support might be one. Getting a product to somebody on time, getting those deliverables out. I mean, there's all sorts of things that really need to be, as you said, firing well in order to have things moving forward.
Yeah, and while we're on the theme of net new business, I want to talk directly to the business to business people in the audience, and that's been my background is business to business sales. And the principle is similar for B2C, but in B2B, a lot of the friction between sales and marketing is, sales is like, you're not giving us enough leads. And then marketing gives some leads to sales. And then what does sales say?
Nothing happens. And so then
you didn't do anything. Right. And then sales goes, these leads are garbage, all that stuff. And here's what I say. I say to that, if that's happening in your organization, or if you're one of the people on either side of that whole back and forth, I say, stop it.
Right.
Stop it. Here's the deal. If you're in B2B sales and if you've identified your ideal client profile, like who's a best fit client, and you've identified your current ideal clients, you should also be able to go out into your marketplace and identify who your ideal prospects are, the specific companies that you want to work with. And so
there aren't leads.
You don't need leads. You already know who your leads are.
I read your book.
Thank you. It was good. I could tell that was a test. But
yay.
You don't need leads. And that's, stop it. You don't need leads. What you need, you already know who the leads are. It's your ideal prospects. What you need for net new business is engagement with those leads. So now marketing, instead of just waiting for someone to hopefully swim by and maybe fill out a form on a website or click
download
like on
something so you capture their email.
Now the goal for marketing is 100% engagement with those ideal prospects. That's what we're aiming towards. Can we get it? No, but that's the gold standard. Sales as well. It's not, we had one of our clients in South Florida. So you go into South Florida, they had a great technology sales business. They were in West Palm Beach headquarters. And by the way, if you have a business in West Palm Beach, we have some on-site consulting openings in February. So it's good. I say that tongue in cheek. I can't wait till the day we get to travel out to client locations again. Anywhere. Yes. So, anyhow, so we go down there and we're doing our growth strategy. And we looked at the marketplace. Now this company is great company, amazing support, great products, all that stuff. In their South Florida marketplace, they had 10 salespeople. Okay. So it was 10 salespeople. When we looked at the landscape of businesses, and they were in the business to business marketplace, and they had products that pretty much every business could buy. We looked at the marketplace and there were 90,000 businesses.
Whoa.
Okay. So 10 salespeople, 90,000 businesses. To cover that marketplace in terms of a prospecting strategy, we did the math. If every salesperson made like 40 calls a day, they would cover their territory in like 2.5 years if they worked 18-hour days. It was something ridiculous, right? And yet, so what ended up happening, it was just a hodgepodge. We'll take whatever fish swim by, whatever the low-hanging fruit is. Yet, they had some ideal clients that when we looked at their ideal clients and we said, if this ideal client bought everything that they could buy from you over the next 10 years, what would they be worth? The ideal client was worth $865,000.
Wow.
Whereas the average client was worth $36,000 over 10 years.
So why are you spending your time, your money, your efforts on them?
So what they did is they said, okay, let's get clear on who our ideal clients are. If someone else buys from us, that's totally fine. But we're going to identify our ideal clients. They got it down to about 2,500 prospects in that marketplace. Very doable. And they went to the sales team and they said this, here's the rule from now on. You can call on whomever you want, but absolutely 100%, these prospects are going to hear from you on a quarterly basis. Well, I don't want to call on them. Not a problem. We'll give that to someone else.
Yeah, there's 9 other guys here.
And now the mindset was, instead of trying to sell to everybody, we'll take orders that come. That's fine. But we're going to 100% make sure that we have what I call in the book 100% coverage of our ideal prospects. And one of the best things businesses can do as we look into 2021 to drive growth is get clear on who your best fit clients are and put a sales plan together to engage with the decision makers, and track the activity. It's not rocket science, but most companies we go into, the sales teams just kind of, hey, go sell something.
Right. They get out the phone book. Do people even do that anymore? But the chamber book,
digital phone book,
so they go down through their Chamber of Commerce listing, and and you get A through L, and you get M through Z.
Right. Or they go onto LinkedIn and here's the deal. Once you know the profile of your ideal client, you can determine who those people are.
Right.
You can get the list, right? And that becomes those get, one of the core cylinders of the engine then is a target account program where every rep has target accounts that they're prospecting into. And that simple strategy, that one thing alone for many businesses, especially when you look at the value of an ideal client in that story we just did, 866,000 over 10 years versus 36. I mean, landing one client was worth more than 20x the up and down the street bread and butter average client. So put a program in place, a target account program. That's one cylinder that drives net new business. And you have corresponding motion into those ideal prospects from marketing. And now you're setting yourself up to grow. Is it a tough economy in 2021? Absolutely. Is it, is it changing? Absolutely. What do we do in response? We get focused.
Yeah. Why waste your time on those others? Because you might sell to them, but they're going to be small and they're going to be one time. And when you're not dealing with leads, you're not dealing with that dreaded term cold call. Right? Because, now, even if you've never talked to them, there's still a warm lead because you know that they should be interested in what you're talking about as opposed to the next name on the list.
Well, you definitely have once you identify your ideal client, it's, by the way, when in the book, we talk about this in detail and definitely as we're running our revenue growth engine tune-up events, we're looking in detail at who your ideal client is. Some of it is demographic. It's companies in this geography that meet this criterion, size or revenue or industry or whatever. A lot of it is psychographic. So and a great way to get to that ideal client profile is to just sit around the table with your team and go, okay, let's talk about our favorite clients.
Right.
What do they have in common? And you go, Darrell, that's a little pie in the sky, but here's the deal. When you understand the psychographics of an ideal client fit and you're able to focus on those people, those are the people that actually appreciate what you do. They value what you do. They stick around. They don't price shop you every time there's a renewal or whatever. And they're the type of clients that you can actually build a business on top of, as opposed to maybe the ones that are in the next ring out that just aren't really that good a fit. And you work so hard to get them and then they leave and they're not happy. And the reality is
they carry on you. They take
it's
all your
demoralizing.
effort.
Yes. I love one of my favorite books that I read this past year. I'm a Mike Michalowicz fan, and he wrote a book. He's written a lot of great books. One that's not as well known is called The Pumpkin Plan. And it uses the analogy about if you want to grow big pumpkins, you kind of cull out a lot of the smaller ones over time. So the energy can go to these big pumpkins. But and I'm not saying fire all your tier 2 clients or don't take the order, but make sure that 100% you've got processes in place to call on your ideal clients. And then when it comes to cross-sell, the same principle applies. There was a guy in Italy, I think we all know his name. He was a great guy named Vilfredo Pareto, right? Vilfredo was the guy in the 1800s. He found out that 80% of the property was owned by 20% of the people. And he started looking around. And I believe that Vilfredo Pareto's principle is alive and it is doing well in most businesses. 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your clients. Just stack rank them, or don't just look at revenue, look at revenue potential. You may just have scratched the surface on a large client. 20% of your clients are driving 80% of your revenue. You need to treat those clients really well.
Right.
You
and that's do not want to lose them.
Right. But it's the law of business. The smaller clients end up whining and needing stuff, and you end up sometimes neglecting the larger clients. And so it's very important that just as on the net new side, you have sales processes in place to focus on your ideal prospects, you need sales processes in place to focus on your ideal clients as well.
Right.
And one of the most powerful and simple processes that I've seen companies put in place is what we call a periodic business review. Setting a cadence. A lot of times in the business to business world, it's quarterly with an ideal client. Can't do it for everyone,
right?
But your top 20% you can, to where we say, okay, we're going to have a quarterly meeting, and we are going to, we're going to review our business performance. But Deb, what I really want to do is I want to make sure I'm in tune with what's going on in your business, what challenges you're facing, what goals you have, and what better time to start that, by the way, than in the middle of all this uncertainty to go to your clients and go, keep us in the loop. Let's brainstorm together.
What can we do?
So what ends up happening out of those meetings is two things. First of all, obviously you're uncovering business opportunity and you're getting tuned into what's really making that business tick. And that's where the cross sell begins. The other thing that happens is during that meeting, you're adding tremendous value in ways that your competitors and other vendors are just not doing. So you now have earned the right to ask for referrals. And there's nothing better to grow a business than a referral. But how, a lot of times we all know that, but where do you get referrals? Well, these periodic business reviews are fertile ground for getting referrals.
Right. And of course it's hard when you're a small business owner to be thinking about decreasing your number of clients because we've all been taught, more is better, all these various things, but it truly is quantity versus quality. And so it's okay to decrease. And especially if you're starting out, or really struggling, you are thinking, I need to do as much as I possibly can.
Yes.
And you might have to be doing that right now. I mean, that just might be what's going on. But as you're doing it, be thinking about, okay, who are the long-term people? Who do we want to keep? And then of course, the other thing is you might have to fire some clients or, just, let them fade away, and things like that. And that's difficult too, because it could be somebody you worked with a long time, but they're just not, as you said, that ideal client.
There are certainly some clients, it's probably the bottom 20%, right, that are actually a drain on your business. Right. They're not profitable. And not only are they not profitable, they're also like just demoralizing your team.
Right.
And I'm a partner in several different businesses. I just think of an instance where we had a client, it was one of our larger clients. And finally, I picked up the phone and called them and I said, I hate to tell you this, but we're not renewing our agreement with you, which, at first they were like, what do you mean you're not renewing?
And then they were relieved, right?
Well, they were a little upset, but I'll tell you what our team was. It brought 10 times the energy and the resource back into the team.
They were.
And, I think that it is, and I'm not a management or leadership expert, but I do know that, good managers look at their team and realize sometimes there's people on their team that are causing more problems than they're solving. And I think there are cases where you do have clients that are causing more problems than, and you're like, well, I can't do without the revenue. But if you were really honest, you'd realize that you're paying yourself them money
ulcer or losing good employees.
Yeah, you have an ulcer and people are frustrated. So I think that in contrast to your ideal client, your not ideal client, less than ideal client is important. But the reality is, I think people say, Darrell, ideal client profile. What about the average client? We'll still take orders from them.
Right. You're not going to say, sorry, we won't take your money.
But 100%, we make sure our ideal clients are taken care of. Another on the marketing side, when it comes to cross sell, one of my favorite marketing authors is Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham's phenomenal. He wrote several books. The Sticking Point Solution is a fantastic book for this time right now. It was written in 2009 after the last crisis. Very creative. But my favorite book by him is How to Get Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. And in that book, one of the things that Jay advocates for is to pick your head up and look at other industries. Look outside your little narrow world, your echo chamber of your business, and look at other industries. And one of the things I started as I was writing the book, I started looking at other industries. And one of the things I realized that other industries were doing that a lot of our clients weren't doing and we weren't doing at the time is client loyalty programs. So, I've got, I used to have, I guess I still have status on American Airlines,
Yeah, I think they kept all those points. They figured that was
I hope
bad.
so. That's good. I haven't seen
mm-hmm.
an airport in a while, which is really strange and a little bit wonderful. But, so they know that I'm, as a frequent flyer, I am an ideal client to them. I fly a lot. And so they have perks. American Express is another, I'm a loyalty program member with them, right? And so they know that because I travel a lot and have a business, I use my American Express card a lot. They have a client loyalty program. They've set it up so that when I go into an airport, they invite me into their lounge and they let me hang out there in this peaceful place. They give you a massage and fine wine and all that stuff. I'm not leaving them. And they know it, right? Yeah. They know it. And so the question, and my sandwich shop has a loyalty program. Everyone has got one. Oh yeah. So what can you do in your business to reward your ideal clients and make it so they can't leave? And here's what we found out, Deb. This is really funny. Most businesses, they give white glove service to their ideal clients already. They just don't tell them about it.
Right.
So you start to look at it, go, Darrell, what are we going to do for a loyalty program? Well, you're probably already doing it. You just need to tell them about it and put it in a brochure and, and add on some benefits and make it fun. And what a core part of the loyalty program is we do quarterly business reviews with our platinum clients. So one of the great ways to kick off a quarterly business review program is to announce your client loyalty program. So this is how marketing and sales can start to think together about the core question. How do we drive net new? How do we cross-sell? And mainly, how do we do that with our ideal clients and prospects?
Right. Yeah, I always find it interesting when we talk about cross-selling, because we get our clients and we put them in this little box. We do X for you.
Yes.
And we never tell them about the other services that we provide. And I have a great example of this. I worked with this client, had worked with them for years. I did their press releases for them. Anytime something happened, did their press releases. Now, they were very industry specific. So, I had this big list of the trade publications, all these various things. And they would say, somebody got promoted, this happened, yada, yada, yada. We'd send out a press release, away it went. And then I get this call, or actually I think I got an email that they were no longer, that for some things, they were going to use a different PR firm. And I said,
For what things?
For
the things you don't do.
Yeah. And she said, oh, well, for the things that we want to go to mass media, because they were wanting to be publicly traded. And so they needed to get bigger attention. Yeah. So, they wanted things to New York Times, Wall Street Journal. I mean, all those various things. And I said, well, I can do that.
You can?
That's exactly what she said. And she said, we never knew you could. Ooh, so we just went with someone else.
Oh, I hate that conversation. And I hate that one.
And of course, I was bent. I was pretty bent. And of course, I realized it was my fault. I mean, if they didn't know that I could do that, it was because I had not told them.
That's right.
And then it actually ended up that we ended the agreement. Totally. I mean, it was just, then it came back to, there were just some things in there that just, were a little questionable. What happened was they changed senior management, and senior management wanted things done differently. And that was fine. It was probably time to go anyway. And so that was that, we wished them adieu and all those things. But yeah, your clients are not psychic. They don't know that you offer this if you only tell them you offer that. And there's so many ways to be doing that through sales and marketing. The salespeople need to be reminding them, oh, hey, by the way, did you know we also do? Marketing has to have created things, that they can be looking at. And as you said, like in those quarterly reviews, or, even more often, that's where you tell them, oh, and by the way, did you know that we did that? Or, you do monthly newsletter, whatever, because they're not psychic. You can't expect them to know that you do it.
Well, I think all of that's got to be done in the context of process. So my background before I got involved in sales training and running a marketing agency and all of that, I sold workflow management software. So we would go in and map business processes, and we would help companies streamline the flow of information through their organization to blah, blah, blah. And so what I noticed when I was writing this book is I noticed if you go in the accounting department, processes, HR department, processes, shipping and receiving, processes, sales and marketing, Wild West.
Right.
Right.
You do what you do, you do what you do, and never the two shall meet.
Yeah. I mean, the sales is like, it's like going into the Wild West. You got some gunslingers, there's tumbleweeds, and it's like, hey, go sell something, build some relationships and close some business. No process. Marketing is a lot of times not much better. Run a campaign. Hey, do an ad thing. We're going to run an event and run a promotion. Yeah. Well, add in all the cool technology and definitely we get wrapped up in that. So what I say is look at the processes. These are the cylinders of the engine. What makes an engine work is it repeats, thousands of times a second. RPM, but your sales and marketing needs to be process oriented. So you're never going to get the opportunity to have those cross-sell conversations if you don't have a process in place to engage with your clients. Because sales, it's out of sight, out of mind. You'll never have the opportunity to communicate all the different types of press releases or insert whatever you do here unless you have a client communication program in place and, whatever other cylinders we talk about in revenue growth engine to be able to make sure your clients know. And this is, this right here, what we're talking about in terms of cross-selling, Deb, I firmly believe for 90% of the businesses listening in, this is the low-hanging fruit.
Right. You've already got them as a client.
That's right. But, Mark Hunter is one of my favorite sales authors and a friend. And he says this so well. He goes, Darrell, you don't close a sale. You open a relationship. And Tiffany Bova was at salesforce.com. She was their evangelist, and she wrote Growth IQ. I love her work. And I remember Tiffany standing in front of a room full of 2,000 business owners in the technology world. And she stood up and she said, you guys are like gold miners. You're like the Klondike. You go out and you work and everyone's like, yes. And you dig and you dig and you find the gold. And they're like, yes. And then you high five and you go, okay, let's go find another gold mine. And, this is what we do in sales and marketing all the time is we're like net new.
There's
But
a vein of gold in there.
Yeah, and it's deep. And that's why when you can identify your ideal clients, your current clients who are your ideal clients, and you start to add up the potential in those clients, you'll realize that if you maximized if you had the processes in place for cross-sell, you could double your revenue or more just based on your client base. But in the pre-pandemic world of relatively easy business, we neglected that. Well, guess what? 2021, let's get it done. Let's get it done in 2021. Yeah. Let's make sure we put the processes in place to cross-sell so we can maximize our return from these client relationships we worked so hard to build.
Yeah. And it really is relatively simple. It can be something along the lines of, they close this deal and you send them an email, a gift or whatever, hey, thank you so much for that. And oh, by the way,
exactly.
Yeah. And your salespeople who are thinking commission, they're like, no, got to go get new people. Well, the people they already have, they already know, they've got that relationship with, they should know enough about them that they can be really saying, hey, we can help you. I happen to notice that over there, this is going on. Do you know that we can help you with that? As opposed to, we got to go back out and knock on doors again. And especially now when we can't do that, we can't go to networking meetings. We can't be going door to door. I mean, all of those various things, you have got to focus on what we already have and how you can serve them.
I think that's one of, if we look back, and I think someday we'll look back on 2020 and the pandemic and
And it
all
won't
that
be the swear
unfolded.
word that people are saying it is.
I don't know. It might be. However, times of adversity are where we grow and develop. And I think there's going to be many, many books written about how we grew and developed during this time of adversity. But I think what we're talking about right here, when it comes to the philosophy of how you grow your business, realizing that your current client relationships, and I think it was Jim Rohn that said your network is your net worth, right? Your client relationships, not only the opportunity to add more value to those current clients, but also the opportunity to develop that relationship and ask who else you can help, and get that warm introduction, which is worth 1,000 cold ones. But and really make that happen. The whole thing about cross-sell process right now is really, really powerful.
Right. And now more than ever, you should be reaching out to people, because, I mean, let's be honest, people are sitting at home, working at home, or maybe they're in an office, but not nearly as many people. And as we said, not networking, not doing these things. So if you're being a resource for them and reaching out and just, hi, hey, how you doing? I saw this article that I thought you might like, all of those various things, you're going to stand out.
I think so. And looking for ways to add value, earlier we were talking about the, did you know, part of it is making sure they know the products and services that you sell beyond maybe your core offering or whatever they bought from you. But really a lot of it is having a mindset of curiosity and humility to say, tell me about your business. What's going on? And this is a good time to ask it. When the pandemic first happened, obviously we had a lot of empathetic conversations with people and all of that. I think that was good. And that's hopefully become part of our DNA now. We're a little more, human. My friend Ethan Butte wrote a book called Rehumanize Your Business. I think that's so good. But now that we're headed into this new year and, whatever shifts, we're recording this in December. I don't know, there's vaccines and hopefully, some turn of events here that is going to lift the fog here over all of it. So what does that mean? Well, that means as we go into, this new future, we're going to need to pivot again. We're going to need to, that means everybody, right? Not just you. That means all of your clients are looking forward going, what do we do now? What's next? What are we missing? What are we, and so it is a great time to have conversations. I think in, spring of 2020, the conversations were empathetic. I think in spring of 2021, the conversations need to become more strategic. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Let's think through this together. Let's get our ideal clients together. Let's network them. Let's lead, let's figure this out. And this is a time, as we said at the beginning of this recording, as we've been saying on the C-Suite Radio Network all year, this is the time to drive and thrive. This is the time to work together and figure this out. And you can be a part of that conversation with your clients if you'll have that conversation with them.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to even ask those questions. They don't want to intrude. There's a variety of reasons not to. And at the very least, somebody's just going to tell you, I'm not interested in that. Whatever. Thanks for the information, but and that's great. But they again, they're not psychic, and because you're right. In the early stages of the pandemic, it really was, how are you doing? What can we do to help? How are things going? I mean, there really was this, what can we do type of thing. And then we've kind of been plugging along for a while. And now it's like, okay, and as we come out of this, it's going to go back to how can we help? But it's now how you have survived. So now we're going to do more than survive. And how can we help make you successful? or more successful, and things, because, it's been rough. There've been a lot of companies that just haven't made it. They might still be struggling along, and, the first quarter, they might still make it in 2021, but, many of them aren't. And so, it really is going to be the time to look at the people you're working with and go, okay, you are the survivor. We want to be part of that team. What can we do to help you?
Absolutely. And I think that we're finding this already, and I think this will continue on into the new year, is people are open for help and ideas. And so to go in with a heart of service, not a heart of self-interest, but a heart of service, is where we're going to generate the goodwill, but we're also going to find ourselves in conversations where we're actually understanding what our clients really need, what they really want from us. And, what are the answers to those questions? I don't know. That's why we got to go out and ask. And this is a time to have a lot of conversations asking, somewhat simple questions. What challenges are you facing in your business today? Where do you see this going? What are you most concerned about? Where do you see the opportunity? Here's what we're seeing. Having that 30,000 foot discussion adds value, but is also going to open the doors to new opportunities that you may have never seen before. And it may be the key to the growth in your business in ways you hadn't even planned, but they're going to come out of understanding the demand.
Right. And sometimes the information, the help that you're providing might bring absolutely nothing back to your business. But because you were helpful and didn't expect something in return, they remember that. And I think even if it's just that you sent them an article or you made a new business connection for them, I mean, all these various things, people remember that. And especially now where things are rough, because I think a lot of people are thinking, hey, we're being ignored, we're being forgotten. And so now really is the time to reach out to folks and to say, just, back to that empathy thing. How you doing? And it's I always laugh about this, when they said, in March, it's going to be 2 weeks.
Right.
We all went,
I can do this for 2 weeks.
Sure. We can, and I do remember, they told my husband, you will be working from home for 2 weeks, maybe a month.
Yeah.
They have told him, and they told him this quite a while ago, you're home until July of 2021. And more than likely, he's going back to a hybrid type of thing. Kids, schools, all of these various things, we are coming out of this totally different. And so we have to stop and think, okay, what do we need to change in our business in order to be successful? And I think so many, we've talked about this, with the ruler, we just plug merrily along and we hope things go, and then there might be some little dips, but, it's a teeter totter, and I remember, when I was a little kid and I was a little frail little thing, and lots of kids got on the other end of the teeter totter and they shot me off. That happens, that happens in business where, catastrophic things happen or good things. I mean, I'm sure in January, companies like Zoom never, ever thought, oh my gosh, things are going to be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, and the companies that did say, okay, what are we going to, I live in Atlanta. And one of the things that, our governor keeps telling us is hunker down. And, you kind of hear that in Arkansas too. And that's what businesses have been doing, but now we've got to come out of it, and so, what can we do to help our clients to do that? And, or even if they're not our clients, let's see, we didn't even get to talk, and, we do have a couple minutes. So I want to talk about, what selling from the heart is, because I think that is part of it. We don't have to be making money to be doing something. Do we need to make money? Yes. We have bills we have to pay too. And we like to buy those fancy cars that go fast with the big engines. But, it all has to come from the heart.
It does. And, if you look at the biggest thing that in sales and marketing, this goes for both, the biggest thing that you need to develop a relationship is trust.
Right.
Challenge is we live in a post-trust economy, and trust is at an all-time low. Edelman Trust Index just keeps slipping every year. And now that we're in this two-dimensional space, the question is, how do we build trust? And trust comes from authenticity and the drivers of authenticity, humility, curiosity, empathy, those types of things. And so one of the things I think is really important right now is that we continue in Selling from the Heart. And I get to co-host the Selling from the Heart podcast with my good friend, Larry Levine, author of Selling from the Heart. And, I watched Larry work with organizations and helping them develop authentic relationship plus authentic value. So it's got to be authentic on both, right? The relational connection is critical.
Right.
And you got to be even more intentional now than ever. The value side is critical as well. People aren't just spending money because it's in their budget. That's not in their budget. They're really rationalizing this.
Right.
So when we head to market now as sales professionals and marketing, the goal is authentic relationship plus authentic value. And this, all of this, I think, stretches us and just makes us better at our craft. But right now, this is the time to be the real deal. This is, whether you own a company, lead a marketing team, or in sales, this is the time to be the real deal. Authentic relationship plus authentic value, and then put the engine behind that, and you'll set yourself up for a very successful 2021.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are going to be many companies that really do come out of this good. And part of that will be because they restructure. I mean, how many companies are going to go, we don't need to be in an office. It worked really pretty good for our folks to work from home. And so that's going to cut costs for them there. Employees are going to say, you know what, I can work 6 hours a day when I'm not disturbed and get a whole much more done. And, and so maybe they're going to, take advantage of the gig economy and have something else. Or, all these people who have their kids at home, they've now got to be teaching them, and all of these things. And I think it's, back in March when we first started this, I thought it'd be a year. I really did think it would be a year before we ever even started to see what was happening. And I still think that. I think by March-ish, we should, the light will be at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the train that's going to hit us. It's the light that we're going out. And I think that's what's going to be interesting about this. And so, oh my gosh, we're at the top of the hour. And so we have to talk again later on to see, okay, we're out of this, or we are getting out of it, just to see, because I still had notes, we still had questions, and so we still have to do that. But, in the meantime, tell us, Darrell, how people find you and connect with you online. Is your book on Amazon? Be Vanna again, show the book.
Of course, it's on Amazon. And one of the things, though, I wanted to make sure that our heart is to help great companies grow revenue. We've got all kinds of a growing toolkit of revenue tools. You can text the word revenue to 21,000. That's the word revenue to 21,000. You'll get access to our toolkit. You'll learn about our revenue growth engine tune-up events that are rolling out through 2021, where you can come in and actually tune up your revenue growth engine and make sure you've got all the cylinders firing.
And so everybody needs a tune-up. I mean, cars get tune-ups all the time. Tunes-ups.
Tunes-ups. Mine just told me today it needs one, actually. So, which
mine's
is
cranky too. It must be the time of year.
Exactly. It's like, you haven't driven me much this year, but it's time for a little attention.
Mine said, you don't have heat. And I went, it's cold here.
That's something you might want to get checked out. That's good. But revenue to 21,000. Love to connect with you. One of the great things, Deb, there's not that many people on LinkedIn with the last name Amy and first name Darrell. So I'm sure I can find you out there. Love to connect. And the heart behind all of this is let's work together. Let's get strategic. I always like to say at the end of the Revenue Growth Podcast, let's get going and let's get growing. And this is the time to do that.
Right. And your website for the book is revenuegrowthengine.net. .net, folks, not .com. So .net, revenuegrowthengine.net. And you know, as you mentioned, those resources are there. There's, you know, all those links, all those various things. So be sure to check that out.
Awesome. Yes.
Perfect.
This has been so much fun. And I just want to say it's a huge thank you to you and for all that you're doing here on the Business Power Hour. This has been a lot of fun.
You know,
and I can tell you add so much value. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, we were talking before the program with what, you know, as podcasters, we both have our own podcast. What do we get out of it? We get knowledge. I mean, I learn something every single time. And we get to talk to the coolest people. I mean, you know, that really is one of the funnest things about this is I really do get to talk to the cool kids and have so much fun with that.
Me too. It's been wonderful getting to know you today.
Well, do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
I would say, you know what, this is, we've been saying this through this whole podcast. This is the time to drive and this is the time to thrive. So once again, let's get going and let's get growing and let's make 2021 a year of recovery and success. And I think we just need to get strategic to make that happen.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful conversation with Darrell Amy. Can't wait to do it again. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.